Central High is a small farming community in the southern part of Oklahoma. Its 54 square miles contain fields, a Baptist church, a volunteer fire department, a daycare, one kindergarten through 12th grade public school, and 1,189 residents. The public school was formed in April of 1922. The 4 local elementary schools, Prairie Center, Pleasant Hill, Wolf Creek, and Nellie, all came together to form a high school known as Central High. Enrollment the first year was about 75 students, 7th through 12th grade. Central High has continued to be a small, close-knit community, held together by the people that live there.
My grandparents lived here, both my mother's parents and my father's parents. My dad's parents had a dairy. My mom's parents had a mom and pa store that everybody in Central High went to. My dad went to college at Stillwater and was an OSU grad. He got his first teaching job in Wilson, Oklahoma. So we were in Wilson and the Central High ag job became available. So we moved here, and that August I started to kindergarten. Small community is really what I know. I've never lived anywhere. I lived in Elgin, Oklahoma for 3 years after I got married, but I've never lived anywhere but a small community. So I don't know what it would be like to live anywhere else.
My experience at Central was decent. It was a good high school. I feel like Central was just too small of a school to really grow and do anything else. I feel like that's all people know is that school. And I think that I would have done better at a bigger school just because you would get more out of it, more variety of people, more things to do. But overall, I think it was pretty good.
These 2 women walked Central High's halls 26 years apart, but they share a common experience. They grew up more quickly than they had planned.
Sophomore in high school, we had been boyfriend and girlfriend for a number of years. And I'll tell you, sex was not something that he and I talked about or planned on doing. It was very much peer pressure. We both had friends telling us, if you don't, they're going to go after somebody else, that this girl really likes him and I know she will. You better or you're not going to keep him. And so that's really how that unfolded. Then, gosh, I was probably months pregnant before we really realized it. And then of course he was a senior, I was a sophomore, and we were stressed out. We didn't know what to do. We talked about running away. We talked about adoption. We both were scared to death.
Well, you feel judged because you're 17 years old, but I suppose you just have to go day by day. You work a full-time job and just start thinking mommy things instead of school things, and you eventually lose all of your friends because they don't have anything in common with them anymore. That sucks. But that's just what happened. But I was not going to abort my child or give my child away. So I feel like that's what I had to do.
I had him he was due May 27th. I had him May the 7th, and this will sound funny, but I went to the hospital, I had him, and 2 days later I came back to school. It seems like my mother took off a few weeks to watch him while I came to school to finish the year, because we only had a couple of weeks left in school. We had gotten married in March, so we got married in March. He was born in May, and nothing changed other than I went from being a privileged teenager whose parents tried to spoil me to a struggling mom who had a husband that brought home $125 a week. My parents were very supportive, but they were not going to be enablers. They bought us a mobile home, put it next door to them. My dad insisted that, my parents' house sat here, he insisted that the trailer house run like this so that the front door was facing away from him so that he could not be a nosy busybody and know when we were coming and going. We tried to take care of ourselves, and like I said, my husband made $125 a week, and it was a struggle because we were in an old trailer house that sometimes electric bill could be $300, and he just worked very hard to make sure that the ends would meet, and he, thank goodness, had health insurance, so we had health insurance, and I stayed in school. Anytime I mentioned that I might need to get a job, I never mentioned not going to school, but I might need to get a job, my husband would just get another job. Sometimes he had 3. but he made sure that I was able to take care of our son and go to school. And he was that way all the way through college.
I was 40 weeks and 3 days, well, 2 days pregnant, and I decided that I was gonna sit on the washer during the spin cycle for the whole spin cycle, not just, like just a couple minutes, like the whole time that it was watching, and I just sat up there and got on Facebook. And it actually broke my water. And I had my child at 3:52 the next morning, but it was just kind of leaking. So when I went into the hospital, I was like, I think something's leaking, like it's not pee. And they were like, yeah, they tested it and they were like, okay, yeah, it's amniotic fluid. And I was like, oh no, I'm having a child like within the next 12 hours, which I was in labor for 13 hours because they had to rebust it after they gave me the medicine because I wasn't dilating. They're like, oh, you may have to have a C-section. And I was like, oh my gosh, like don't tell me that, like I just want to have the child. And so finally I had him, and when I had him, he came out and he was purple. And normally a child screams when you have a child, like everybody just knows that. And I just was looking at the doctors and the nurses, and they just immediately, I didn't see him. They just immediately took him and they were off. And they came back 30 minutes later and said that he was at a critical hour, which means that they didn't know how he was going to do. It could either be a turning point for the good or a turning point for the bad. And they said if he does not get better, he'll be flighted to OU. And so I was just at a loss, and they told me I couldn't go because I couldn't be discharged. So either my parents would have to go or he would go alone, which is a scary thought since you just had a child. But luckily he got better. But I did get to see him for 5 hours, and the 5 hours that I was sitting there, I decided I was gonna get up, not knowing that my epidural still was in. Well, it wasn't in, it was just it hadn't weared off yet. And I had crawled all the way down the hallway with blood all the way following me just to get to him to sit down to hold him. They let me hold him for about 10 minutes, and they realized I had lost too much blood and was telling me I need to go back to the room, and they would bring him there within 30 minutes, which they did. But they brought him back in. He wasn't just a normal baby. He wasn't just wrapped in a blanket and they give it to you. He had an IV in his arm, and you had to watch out for all the wires. So it wasn't just a wonderful experience of holding him.
I was mowing the lawn at my parents' house, mowed their yard and ours. I was on a riding mower, and I came in that night, the night of the 6th, and my mom was mad because I was mowing. What did I think I was doing? Well, then I kept complaining that my back hurt. So she insisted that Sean take me to the ER. Well, at first they said they didn't think I was in labor, and then they decided that I was. So we were there all night, all day the next day, and friends, family, everyone kept coming over, and checking, and they all would just give up. He wasn't coming. Well, finally, just about the time school got out, he came. So here, everybody came over there, and I happened to be when they brought me out, I was all by myself because then Sean wasn't allowed to come in the delivery room. And I was like, where's my family? Where's my family? I want to show them my baby. I want to show them. And they were all in a different waiting room, but it was very exciting. You don't know that kind of love until you see your child, and he had so much hair and long fingernails, and it's just such an amazing thing for them to hand you your child. It's unbelievable that they are a part of you. I think you forget labor the second they lay them on your chest. You completely forget all those hours of what you went through when you have that child laying right there, and now they're your responsibility. They're what you're going to fight to take care of.
Only 40% of teen mothers end up finishing high school, while fewer than 2% finish college by age 30. Overcoming their circumstances was no small feat for these women.
People expected me to fail. Simply because I got pregnant at 17. They didn't think I would graduate, and I did walk with my class. I guess they didn't think that I would make anything of myself. I actually did an 8-week class, and now I'm a pharmacy tech.
When I was a senior in high school, I went to college in the mornings, and then I came back here for school in the afternoon. So I had about a year knocked out before I graduated. And then when I graduated, honestly, college seemed easy as far as time compared to high school because I didn't have to go all day long. I went Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I got home 1:30 or 2 in the afternoon. Now there were lots of projects and things, and that's where my husband would either take care of the baby in the evenings while I worked on projects, or he would sit beside me and we'd both work on projects. We were very fortunate. From the time Aaron was born, he would go to sleep at 8 o'clock at night and pretty much sleep till 6 o'clock the next morning. So that was easy to do homework and things. I graduated in 87 and then I graduated from college in 90, so it just took 3 years to get through. Sometimes I took 21, and one semester I took 24 hours so I could get through because we needed a job. We needed for me to get through. I graduated in May of 90 and I wanted to teach at Elgin. Put an application in there. Back in 90 there were plenty of teachers, way more teachers than there were openings. I put in Lawton Public Schools. I put in pretty well everywhere. I did not apply at Central High. Leonard Garrison was the superintendent, and he found out I graduated, and he called me and asked me to come over and talk to him. So I came over and he offered me a half-day kindergarten position with lunchroom duties, which would get me to about a 1:30, 2 o'clock day. So he felt like it would count towards teacher retirement, which meant nothing to me at the time. Because I graduated, I needed a job. Sure, I'll take it. Okay, I'll take it. The next week Elgin called and offered me a job, and Wichita Falls called and offered me a job. And I really contemplated, but I felt like I had given my word to Mr. Garrison that I would take his job, so I turned the other two down, which were a full-day position and would have been more money. I just felt like I'd given my word, and so I stuck to it. And I taught here for a year, taught kindergarten, and I liked it. So we put our house up for sale, and we moved back here. We bought a mobile home and bought 5 acres, and decided that we would save our money to build a house, which we did. And I moved from kindergarten to 3rd. I've taught 3rd, I've taught 4th. I believe this is my 12th or 13th year as a principal. And what drove me to get my master's and to become a principal was they kept giving us an elementary principal. It was a coach. It was always a coach that they could put him over there in the elementary for a couple hours a day, call him the principal, and he was supposed to be our leader. And we were never his priority, ever. So I started going to night school. I drove to Ada to get my master's at night. So I could be a principal because I wanted to be a leader for my fellow teachers. I wanted them to have some support and have somebody that knew how important their job was. It just wasn't the second burner. They just weren't on the back burner. And before I ever got my master's finished, they gave me the job 2 years earlier and called me an administrative assistant. And then once I finished, I was labeled the elementary principal. And I've been doing that now. This is my 25th year.
Even though beating the odds was hard, both of these women wouldn't have their lives any other way. They were given another purpose to fight for in their lives, their children.
I just want to tell people all the time, you just don't need to give your kid up. It's sad to pay so much money to abort a child and not be able to have a child when they don't even know how it really feels. It is just the coolest feeling ever. I would do it again. Even though I was 17, I would still do it.
I think it takes family support. I feel bad for girls that don't have anyone that supports them, but you have to be determined in your life. I don't care who you are or what your circumstance is. Your life is very much what you decide to make it. We all come across many, many bumps in the road, many obstacles, and you have to be the one that is your fighter. You fight for yourself every day. I think having a child just gives you someone else to fight for. It gives you that if you want them to be successful, then you need to model success. I think my husband and I staying married for 30 years is a wonderful accomplishment. I think girls today don't understand that marriage is never easy. It's not this lovely, fun game. It's work every day, but it's work that's worth it. It's very much a wonderful experience to be married to someone and to grow together, to learn to love the same things, to learn to respect each other's differences. But you have to fight for that. I think people today think life is easy. Life's not easy. It's not. It's a wonderful life as long as you work at it.
Barron pretty much saved my life because obviously I wasn't going the right way if I was having sex at 17. Probably wasn't going the right direction anyway, so I really can just thank God for Barron because he's pretty much a blessing. Just like you have to give 100% to school as you would being a mother. If you give 100%, then there's no way you can fail.
Both Leanne and Keston gave 100% to being successful mothers. They gave their all and are living happy, fulfilled lives.